My name is Arun Jagtiani, and I'm a proud St. Martin. In a few short weeks, our country is going to be heading to the polls to elect 15 new members to Parliament. There's 126 candidates from 9 different political parties that are contesting this election, and I think the entire voting population could benefit from knowing a little bit more about who these candidates are. Over the next few days, I'm going to interview a few new faces and a few political veterans. So join me, St. Martin, and let's talk politics. Welcome to another edition of Talking Politics with Arun. I'm joined today by one of the youngest candidates contesting this upcoming election, but he also has one of the biggest resumes from all the candidates contesting this election, at least politically. I'm joined by the number 7 candidate on the U.S. party list, none other than Mr. Romain Laville. How are you doing today, Romain?
I'm doing fine, Arun.
It's a pleasure to have you, man.
It's my pleasure.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
In many ways, I kind of mean that sentence. We're going to dive right into it. You're no stranger to the political scene. Although this is your second time contesting an election. You ran in 2010, and as a first-time candidate, were fortunate, successful enough to be elected into Parliament. How was that experience the first time around versus this campaign trail? Sorry.
Well, the experience are almost the same, but I'm coming a little bit more experienced now. Mm-hmm. When you're running for the first time in a political party, your expectations are totally different from what the reality is, and so because now I have that experience in a campaign, I've had experience in Parliament, I know what to do, what not to do, and how to basically strategize better.
Sure.
The needs that I need to bring out, or the message that I have to bring out.
Okay, and the way to do it as well, yeah?
Correct.
So I remember maybe your first year of serving in Parliament, you made a statement in the media, I still recall hearing it to this day, where you said that you may have just committed political suicide. You did not contest the last election. So many thought that you were out of the political scene for good, but here you are, you're back. What brought you back?
Well, I made a statement, I believe in 2012.
Okay.
At that time we had one of the worst political and social unrest, I would say, in St. Martin, where we had over 180 something workers that were laid off at the Pelican Resort. And so there had been at that time an issue and a stance that I took, which was contrary to where the direction of my party was going. And so you have to understand that, I joined a party that has a legacy in this country for over 60 years. You're talking about, if you want to compare them to the United States, you're talking about going up against a Clinton or a Kennedy,
sure,
or a Rockefeller, that type of establishment. And so, I made the statement that I may have committed political suicide because I know the far-reaching hands and the tentacles of that party. And the moment when you decide to take a stand against them, it comes with a lot. It comes with a heavy cross. It comes with scars. You don't walk away whistling in the sunset and so forth. You walk away with a couple of bruises. So I understood that. I took a while off, Arun, because I wanted to really examine my 4 years. If you're really serious about this job, as serious as I was at that time, I resigned from my career at the harbor. I have a maritime degree. I went to school in Sweden to study maritime.
Okay.
Besides having my other 2 degrees in Washington, D.C. And so I left that career. I resigned the day before I got sworn in to be able to serve the people of St. Martin. And so you had to take a step back. I wished I had 4 years to take that step back. No fault of mine that we're here 2 years later. But I wanted to do some soul searching, some research, see what could have been done differently. What did I do right? What did I do wrong? Is this something that I'm seriously wanting to pursue for the people? And also at the same time, I have a 12-year-old daughter that, when I started, she was 6 years old. And so I missed a lot. She doesn't live here in St. Martin, she lives in D.C. Gotcha. And so there are some times, that I missed a lot of her birthdays. I missed Christmas because of the budget debate and so on and so forth. So I wanted to be a father too. At the end of the day, you cannot ask to run a country and be responsible for a country, and then you don't be responsible for your home as well.
Of course.
So
starts at home.
Starts at home.
Yeah.
So I did that for a while, and strange enough, wherever I go, people would stop me on the road, whether it's in the supermarket or driving, and they would say, but Laville, when are you coming back? I miss your voice in Parliament. Now I realize the things that you were saying. I didn't understand it then, now I understand it now. And more you get that. And one day I sat at home, and I have a wonderful team. that have been working since last year summer.
Okay.
To get everything prepared for me, even though I made up my mind 2 weeks before my birthday, July 10th, when I launched.
Yes.
But you know, I wanted to feel that same way again that I felt in 2010.
Okay. So when you sit back and you reflect on the 4 years that you did serve in Parliament, and then you had about a 2-year break almost, to really give it a lot of thought, and as you mentioned, you needed to do that sort of soul searching. What do you think you learned from the 4 years you served in Parliament? What have you learned? And how does that better equip you to serve in Parliament now?
Well, one of the things that I realized is that when I first came in, I went too fast. You know, I want to accomplish everything right away.
Right.
You know, I didn't pace myself, you know. I didn't sit down and understand the art of compromise. You know, when you're on a campaign trail around and you go to some of these homes in St. Martin, and you listen to single mothers, you listen to hard-working fathers, you listen to young men who've been incarcerated and can't find employment, you listen to students that you've gone to school with that went away to study, whether it's in Holland or the US, and come back with engineer degrees, but not working in the field of their study. And you hear the issues. And one of the things that I said in the campaign is that you don't have 4 years, we don't have 4 more years to solve this problem.
Right.
We need to address these issues in a programmatic approach. And so one of the things that I did is that I went too fast. You know, I presented too many things at the same time, and I didn't give the people the opportunity for me to explain them and break it down as to what the benefits are.
Sure.
You know, so that is one of the things that I've learned now, that I've realized. More importantly, Aaron.
What do you feel like you accomplished, I'm sorry, in the 4 years that you were serving
Well, you know,
Parliament?
my first legislation that I brought, and one of the things that we have to understand, and I grabbed hold of it very quick, you know, you're not in Parliament to be an activist. You know, that's not your job. You're not there to be a Facebook politician. You know, you're there to do one thing, which is legislate. And so, you know, I brought 3 legislations while my 4 years in Parliament. My first legislation was a pawn shop legislation. It was actually the Alabama Pawn Shop Act that basically regulates the pawn shops that we have in this country. It was a point of time in 2010, 2011 that we had so many break-ins in homes in this country.
Right, I remember that.
And pawn shops keep popping up left, right, and center, and there were no control. And so I did my research, I visited the police station, I looked at the laws, if there are any laws on the books, and there were none. And so I brought this legislation. The second one I brought to Parliament at that time in 2012, when the situation, the saga that was going on with Pelican.
Yes.
And companies coming in, buying over, and all of these things, and then the workers don't have, they lose all their benefits.
Right.
And so I met with the lawyers of the Pelican workers. I discussed with them, what can we do as Parliament, as legislators, to make sure that this doesn't happen again? And there were articles that were taken out of the Civil Code, Articles 662, 666, of the rights of employees to transfer from one company to the next. And so I enacted a motion in Parliament. I brought those articles to put back into the Civil Code to be able to have now protection for our
Sure.
hardworking people in St. Martin. Third and lastly, which I think is very important for especially my generation to come, I brought a mandatory pension plan. Aruba has, in 2012, January 1st, implemented a mandatory pension plan, which means that whichever company you're working for, you must be part of a pension. One of the things that we have in St. Martin is that you hear the cries of our parents, of our elderly, that when they reach that age, they're only collecting the AOV. And when you've worked for many years, for 40 years, and collecting, let's say, 3,000 or 4,000 guilders, and then all of a sudden, when you reach that age of seniority, you know, you're going home with 500, 600 guilders. It's a very difficult point in their life. And so I wanted to make sure that my generation doesn't have to go through that, what my parents and my grandparents have gone through. So I brought that law in Parliament to make sure that when we reach at that age, we can enjoy what the visitors enjoy when they come off the cruise ship and on the airline, a healthy 401k that no matter what company you're in, that is put in there for you. And I brought it because of the importance that as government officials, we benefit from a pension plan, which is APNA. And so if it's good for us, it should be good for the
rest of the population.
Of course,
yeah.
You know.
So I think a lot of people who follow St. Martin politics, when we mention the name Romain Laville, I think one of the first word associations that would come to mind is going to date back to April 2012 or 2012, the Carnival coup, as it's referred to. 5 years later now, looking back on that, what did you learn from that experience? What would you do differently, if you would do anything different at all? What are your thoughts on, and how do you feel about that being one of the first things that people think of when your name is mentioned?
Look, you know, one of the things we have in St. Martin is that we have a lot of dishonest media. You know, we have a lot of newspapers that responsibility is to inform, print the truth, and give the population that opportunity to draw their own conclusion. Many times you have newspapers in this country drawing conclusions for the readers. The Carnival Coup is not what people think it is. You know, you had one of the singers, calypso singers, who invited us actually to come on stage with him,
Yes.
King Bobo.
Okay.
And you know, when we went up on stage at that time, you know, maybe it was poor judgment because we had issues within our coalition.
Sure.
But it's a carnival season. It's a time to relax. It's a time to let your hair down.
Be festive.
It's a time to enjoy the calypso that has been sung on you as a politician. You know, prior to that, I went on stage with Fish the Mega Boss.
Yes.
Who asked me many times to come on stage because he was doing a parody. And so I think that was blown out of proportion because of the timing of what all was going on.
Okay.
And I think the media, who did not contact any of us to ask us
Oh, that's interesting.
what that was really about, made much to do about nothing.
Okay. So it sounds like there's some experience that you've learned from that.
Yeah.
And if you had the opportunity to do it over again, anything differently or?
Look, one of the things that I've learned in my 2 years that I was out, you know, I did a lot of reading, and one of the books that I picked back up again is 48 Laws of Power by Robert Greene.
Yes.
And so in that book, to me, one of the most important laws is law number 5, which
Okay.
means you guard your reputation at all costs. Bear in mind that as young as I was,
Yes.
coming into this political field with all of these giants that I remembered in high
Yes.
school, I remembered in primary school, I did not understand the ins and outs of what this whole arena is about. And so having been someone who's never had any dealings with the media, never been in trouble in his life.
Gotcha.
You know, when people say stuff about you, I just let it slide. But, you know, if I had to do it all over again, I would make sure that anything anyone writes about me that is incorrect, I make sure that to set the record straight.
Interesting. So the first time you contested the election, you did so with the United People's Party.
Yes.
Under the leadership of Mr. Teo Helliger.
Yes.
And now you're contesting under the USP Party under the leadership of Mr. Franz Richardson.
Yes.
Give me your observation, your comparison of how the two parties differ from one another, and specifically how the leadership differs from the two.
Well, the two parties differ in, you know, look, every party needs to have a balance. You know, you can't have everyone every candidate who's a capitalist. You can't have every candidate who's a socialist. You can't have every candidate who, you know, see the things the same way, because St. Martin isn't made up of that. You know, so the problem that we have with our party, my former party, our party, it was extremely capitalist party. You know, bear in mind, Arun, I have an economic degree. I understand the economy. I understand the importance of big businesses, and I promote entrepreneurship. I promote, you know, young persons getting involved. I promote businesses making as much money as possible, you know, to be able to sit back and enjoy their hard work.
Sure.
That is something that I promote. But at the same time, too, we have to look at the social structure of our country. You know, I have always said that St. Martin is a jewel of the Caribbean.
Yeah.
You know, what we have, a lot of islands, you know, dream to have.
Yeah, the
You know,
diversity, we got a little bit of everything.
the
Absolutely.
diversity, the
Yeah.
the economy, the dollar moves around within this economy 10, 20, 30, maybe 50 times a day compared to other islands. But when you look at the social part, we cannot be off balance. We need to have a balance.
Sure.
And so, you know, we bumped heads many times, you know, my old party, because, you know, I wanted to do a lot of social things because I realized that we have worked so hard to develop this economy, but at the same time, you know, the jobs for people did not come on stream. Salaries stayed the same. Inflation went up. People working 2 and 3 jobs, even though they worked 2 and 3 jobs back then. But now it's more of a necessity than a want.
Right.
You know, a lot of our young children, the unemployment at that time was 29% of our kids. You know, a lot of our children were being locked up. When they come out of prison, they're not getting opportunities. You know, so it's a lot of underbelly issues that my party wasn't seeing eye to eye. The difference that now with the US party is that I have had an opportunity to actually be around MP Franz Richardson. You know, not only when the cameras are on, but when the cameras are off.
Sure.
You know, we have supported each other on legislations that we have brought, both in the opposition benches and also working in government.
Okay.
And so I have seen a different type of leadership style. I've seen a different type of of way that he does business, and it just fit. I'm not gonna discredit anything or any other party. At the end of the day, if you're a husband and wife at home, and you don't see eye to eye, and as much as you try to repair certain things, it doesn't happen.
Sometimes
you just got to move on.
Yeah, fair enough. Okay. You mentioned earlier the importance about setting the record straight, especially where your reputation is concerned. I'm going to give you an opportunity to do just that. A few weeks ago, I think it was, I read a headline online that said, Romain not guilty, all charges dropped. And then I think less than 24 hours later, I read another headline, Romain guilty. Which is it? Were you guilty, not guilty? And how should that affect the thought process of somebody thinking about, casting a vote of confidence for you?
Look, once again, I said this, the media in St. Martin has a responsibility, and we have to hold them accountable. One of the things that I'm looking at, in certain countries, there are laws that protect individuals when media print false things about them. One of the things that happened in 2010 was an unfortunate, not on my side, but for those who felt that they wanted to go that route. You had individuals that felt that they wanted to go to the police station to file charges against me. Sure. This is the country that you live, that you can have an argument with someone, and if they get a witness, they can go down and file a charge, and then all of a sudden you're before a court, and then your whole reputation and your character is being assassinated. There's consequences, but then there's no consequence to that individual who goes and files that charges.
Good point.
So that is what transpired in 2012. And like I said again, one of the things that I did not do is understand that I need to guard my reputation. I remember in 2000, in July 10th, when I announced that I was running with the U.S. party, the first question that the media gave me, they asked me, so what is your court case decision will impact your political career? And my reply to them was, I said, I thank you very much for finally, after 4 years, calling me and asking me, Mr. Laville, what is your take on the situation that happened?
Sure.
And so, you have media that prints these things, especially one particular media source. I don't know, from since I declared myself independent, they seem to have an issue with me. But, we went to the judge. The judge looked at the case, and he said to me, look, listen, Mr. Laville, I can't find you guilty of these charges. And so I was found innocent of those charges. If you read the Today newspaper,
yes,
it was a fair and balanced reading. If you go to the Herald, you realize that even when you finish reading it, you're clueless to exactly what really took place.
And headlines make such an impact on people's perception, because oftentimes people don't read past the headline, or they might read, a few sentences in,
correct,
and just kind of skim the paper.
Correct. But Arun, look, listen. Like I said before, I did something that no one has ever done before in St. Martin that I've wanted to do. I took a stand for something. Yes. I took a stand against an establishment and people that feel that the other certain members of the population must serve and they must rule. I took a stand not against individuals, but an ideology of we must have and others must want, and there must not be a fair, equal playing field and opportunity for someone if they want to be able to be successful. And so when that happens, it's going to come with certain issues. You're going to have to bear a heavy cross. And sure. So I bore that cross for 4 years. I am grateful and happy of the justice system for their rendering of the verdict. I am happy for the judge seeing the case for what it is.
Okay.
I'm happy for what transpired, and just the other day, I read in the newspaper that my lawyer called me and said the prosecutor is going to appeal the case. And so, if I was found guilty, why would he appeal a guilty case?
That's a strong point.
So, that's why I tell people all the time, and what we have done in our campaign, we have moved away from print media. We have decided that whatever it is that we want to bring forth, we're going to either do it on our Facebook page. We're going to have
You've been very
videos.
active on social media. I've noticed that.
Very.
I love to see that.
Yeah, because you understand exactly that not all media is on your side, and most people they only read headlines. They read, correct. So
yeah.
You live and you learn, but I'm grateful, and those who know me know exactly the type of person that I am.
We're running out of time right now. In conclusion, because you alluded to your background in economics and also your desire for improving social conditions on the island. There's one more topic I just want to touch on real quick, and we're going to have to get a short and concise answer. What are your thoughts on creating a cannabis industry in St. Martin, and do you think it'll have positive effects, negative effects on both the economy and the social and impact on the youth as well?
Look, at the end of the day, we live in a global society. If you look at what has been going on now in the United States and different countries in the world who have finally accepted the possibility of medical marijuana for medical use, it is an...
What about recreational as well? I'd like to throw both of them.
Well, look, it is, we're under the kingdom.
Yes.
And you can go in any of, those cafes in Holland and purchase marijuana for recreational use. I think we need to start an educational campaign within the schools.
Yes.
Educating our young kids, the dangers and also the benefits of it. That needs to happen first. As government, we need to be responsible too as well to make sure that something like this does not get out of hand. And if it is, in the benefit of our people health-wise, who am I to say that, we should not look into these things.
Okay.
And so I think we need to have a responsible approach. We need to have a responsible take on this type of touchy subject, especially within the Caribbean.
Yes.
Because when you go through some of the different districts and so forth, you see the effects of our young men, using
it's being used irresponsibly.
And so just like alcohol in the days of prohibition,
correct.
Coming all the way now this is one of those things. We need to be really responsible in the decision that we make going forward. I think that we can probably start with a medical use and then see how it goes and then branch out in a responsible campaign to be able to give the pros and the cons of our people, to don't make it seem that government is promoting an excessive use.
It's got to be done responsibly.
Correct.
But I believe the USP party has stated they are in favor of it being done responsibly. Is that correct?
Well, it is not. It is something that we are discussing.
Okay.
And there's a lot of members in our party that have different opinions on it.
Fair enough.
Which is good. But at the same time, the country is changing, the world is changing.
True.
And so, if certain things have certain benefits medically, I think we should look at those aspects of it first.
Fair. Thanks again, Mr. Laville. It's
been
a real pleasure.
Aaron. My pleasure as well.
Again, he is the number 7 candidate on the U.S. People's Party list. Love him or hate him, you cannot deny he's a passionate candidate. One of the youngest candidates with the most experience politically out there on this campaign trail. Thanks again. And in conclusion, I'd love to give you, just a few seconds to talk directly to the voters out there and send them your message.
Thank you. To all of those that are listening right now, I know we are at a crossroad in this country. Many of you have decided that you don't want to go out in the polls. Many of you have decided that, you don't want to waste your time to cast your vote, and your vote does not count. For those mothers and fathers that feel that way, I say to you, on September 26th, do not go out and vote for yourself. Take that opportunity and look at your children, look at your grandchildren, and make that vote count for them. Because tomorrow when you are not there, they have to suffer and live in a country of decisions that you have made. I say to our young generation, those young, aspiring, brilliant, educated people in this country who want to take that step, we did not cause this issue that we are facing, but it's pressed upon our generation to be able to resolve these issues so that the present generation and the next generation does not have to continue. I say to you all, take a stand, believe again, believe in the U.S. party, stand with us. My slogan from day one, enough is enough. It is time for us to move this country forward with new leadership, a bright future, not for 4 years, not for 8 years, but for 20 and 30 years down the road. My name is Romain Laville, number 7 candidate on the U.S. party, and we would love your support on the 26th of September 2016. Go out and vote.